to you today about why working harder isn't what is leading to your promotion. So if you are still thinking like, if I'm working hard enough, but I'm not getting promoted, when is that going to happen if it hasn't happened so far? So I want to dive into 3 common mistakes that are keeping you stuck, but also what you can do about it. Because let's be honest, you've been doing all of the right things, at least what you've been told are the right things. You're working hard enough, you're getting high visibility projects, and yet somehow that promotion, that next level role is still out of reach. So to be honest, it isn't about effort. The problem isn't the effort that you're making. The problem isn't the amount of work that you're doing, but it is about how you're positioning yourself and how you're positioning also your leadership. So, hi, I'm Kim. I have helped over 100 plus women leaders just like you get into high level roles. Just recently, I shared I shared an example of a client who in 6 months time went from pay cut to head of division, which is a 3-step leadership jump for her. So if she can do it, I know that you are capable of doing that as well. So let's dive into today's topic around getting promoted and what does hard work have to do with it. So here are 3 very common mistakes that I see that are happening. The first is that oftentimes women, we are waiting to be recognized instead of really positioning ourselves for that recognition. So how many times have you heard, whether it's growing up or even stuff like, if you put your head down and work hard enough, you're going to get what you wanted? Well, is that really true? Because I can think of a number of cases where I see incredibly hardworking women and men, but they don't actually get the recognition for it. So we're having a falling camera here. All right. A second mistake that you're likely making is you're overworking instead of building influence. So when you are finding yourself like you're too critical in your current role, and if everything seems to hinge upon you being able to execute it, guess what? No one's promoting you because, hey, we can't miss Kim in that role because she is such a critical person, and she is keeping the team going. She's getting the results. We need to keep her there. So in this case, again, the hardest worker doesn't get promoted, but the one that is being strategic about it does. So the shift that you get to make here is starting, rather than being a really great person who's great at execution, who's putting out all those operational daily firefighting, right? We're always in crisis management almost. You want to shift out of that execution crisis management mode and go into more creating that leadership presence, making sure that you're being seen as the go-to person for the strategic side of it, not just for the firefighting side of it. And you want to stop proving your worth through effort, through doing more, through taking on more projects. And you want to start proving your value and your leadership strategic prowess, let's put it that way, through high level decision level making. Number 3, you are assuming that other people are going to see your value, and they won't. Now, of course, there's always exceptions, but if you're not the one that's promoting yourself and really bringing your own achievements, your hard work to recognition, no one else is really going to see that. Think about how often you look around for yourself and think, hey, that person's doing a really great job, working really hard, and then you go out and actively promote them. Likely not as often as you think. Now, will you do this for a team member? Probably. Good leaders do. We'll put it that way, right? But for you, if you're finding yourself frustrated because, hey, I'm working through lunch. I haven't even had time for a cup of coffee today, and I'm working really incredibly hard, doing all these long hours, and yet somehow you're still not being recognized for the incredible value that you bring to the organization, that you are ready for your next challenge, and you're smiling through the promotion that was given to your colleague just last month, and you're like, when is it ever going to be my turn? It has nothing to do with hoping and praying and assuming that someone else is going to see your value. Because honestly, if leadership was all about the effort, the very best workers, the hardest workers, would be running every single company, and they're not. So, what we need to tackle here is leaders aren't promoted because they deserve it, but they're promoted because they make other people, other leaders, their colleagues believe that they belong at the top, that they are capable, they have that strategic prowess, they have that vision, they have that strategic execution ability rather than just that implementation ability. So here's where you get to make a really big choice and a shift. You get to choose whether you're going to start to control the narrative as to how you're being perceived and also how other people are perceiving you. So you can think of it a different way. Do you know what people will say about you when you're not in the room with them? So if there's not a very clear narrative for yourself as to what you want people to talk about, then guess what? That narrative is going to be whatever other people need it to be versus you being the one that's driving, determining, and really being very strategic about that narrative for yourself. So when you are tired of trying this avenue of like, I'm going to work harder because I'm ready for that next senior level role, and you're a woman in leadership going like, oh, I don't know if I don't really want that next leadership role because do you know how much more work that's going to cost me? I don't really want to spend even more time at my job. And that is a moment that we should have a conversation, because your next move, your next role should not at all be about working harder, but it's about how you're positioning yourself. It is how you are creating the visibility for yourself. It is how you have profiled and built the reputation around yourself for who you are, what you stand for, and what you're capable of. Now, if you really want to, like, really simple way of looking at this, like right off the bat, I want you to DM me Boardroom, because I will send you a training that I have created for my clients inside of my program, and you'll get the exact strategy of how to position yourself for high level leadership without having to wait for permission. And more importantly, without having to work harder. So if you are ready to own any leadership conversation and naturally self-promote yourself, then I want you to grab this Boardroom Whisper training right now. So again, DM me Boardroom and I'll send it over. So just remember, if you've ever felt stuck because you thought working harder was the key, I want you to really start thinking like, well, how much is that helping me right now? Because at the very beginning of your career, yes, I'm sure that was how you rewarded, right? We rewarded the people that were working really hard. Except when you get to the level of organization that you're generally at, when you move into your senior roles, everyone is a hard worker. Everyone is a high achiever. So how are you able to differentiate yourself from other higher achievers? Well, that is through being very strategic about your visibility. It is about being strategic about the story, the brand, the reputation that you're cultivating about yourself. It's about developing advocates. It's about developing your leadership presence. So, again, either drop me a comment below or DM me Boardroom and let's have a conversation. I'll share with you the training and we can talk about how we can make this work for you ASAP. We'll talk to you soon.